Question 6. So in this case, as you can see, 4 is a factor of 20. So we've got 4 times something is equal to 20. So we can divide both sides by 4. If this number was 29, then this number would not be a multiple of this. Okay, so and this method wouldn't work. But because 4 is a factor of 20, or another way of saying 20 is a multiple of 4, we can divide both sides by 4. So we divide by 4 here, we divide by 4 here. So what's 20 divided by 4? It's equal to 5. And on the left hand side, the times for the divide 4 cancels out, leaving with just 3x minus 1. Now because I want the x by itself, I have to get rid of this minus 1, so I add 1 to both sides. So 5 add 1 is equal to 6 on the right hand side. On the left hand side, the plus 1 and the minus 1 here, the minus 1 and the plus 1 cancels out, leaving me with just 3x. And because I want the x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And then we get the answer that x is equal to 2, because 6 divided by 3 is equal to 2. So let's just check the answer. We started off by saying 4 times, instead of 3x, I'm going to say 3 times 2 minus 1 is equal to 20. So 4 is equal to, what's 3 times 2 is 6, take away 1, which is equal to 20. Now this bit inside the bracket is equal to 5. So instead of 4 times the brackets, we're just going to say 4 times 5, because 6 take away 1 is equal to 5. So 4 times 5 is equal to 20. So that shows by substitution I got it right. So x must be equal to 2. So this is correct. Question 7. Because 7 is a factor of 21, we can divide both sides by 7. 7 times something is equal to 21, so we can divide both sides by 7. So what's 21 divided by 7 is equal to 3 on the right hand side. So 21 divided by 7 is equal to 3. And on the left hand side, the times 7 and the divide 7 cancels out, leaving with just x plus 4. We don't really need the brackets anymore. Now because I want the x by itself, I have to get rid of the plus 4. And how do I do that? I have to take away 4 on the left, I have to take away 4 on the right. So on the right hand side, 3 take away 4 is negative 1. And on the left hand side, the add 4 and the take away 4 cancels out, or if you want to say 4 take away 4 is 0. That leaves me just the x on its own. So we think x is equal to minus 1. So let's check it by factorizing. So we had 7 times, instead of x plus 4, I'm going to write minus 1 plus 4. And the answer should be 21. So it's 7 times, what's inside the bracket? What's the value of the numbers inside the bracket, or the sum of it? Well, minus 1 add 4 is 3. So 7 times 3 is 21. So therefore we are correct that x is equal to minus 1. So x is equal to minus 1. Question 8. 3 is a factor of 21. So that means we can divide both sides by 3. 3 times something is equal to 21. So we have to divide both sides by 3. So on the right hand side, 21 divided by 3 is equal to 7. On the left hand side, times 3 and the divide 3 cancels out, leaving me with 5x minus 13. Now in order to find out what x is, we have to get rid of the minus 13 on the left hand side. How do we do that? We have to add 13. So that means to keep it balanced, I have to add 13 to both sides. So on the right hand side, what is 7 add 13? 7 add 13 is equal to 20. On the left hand side, the take away 3 and the add 3 here cancels out, or is equal to 0, leaving with just the 5x. Now to get x on its own, we have to divide both sides by 5 because I want to get rid of the times 5. So 20 divided by 5 on the right hand side is equal to 4. On the left hand side the times 4 and the divide for cancels out, leaving with just x. So we think x is equal to 4. Let's check by substitution. So it's 3 times, and instead of 5 times x, I'm going to write 5 times 4, and then take away 13 should equal to 21. So 3 open bracket, 5 times 4 is 20, take away 13 is equal to 21. So can you see, take away 13, I've just copied it down. So now 3, remember it's times here, so 3 times, what does that equal to inside the bracket? We've got 30 minus 13, which is equal to 7. So as you can see, 3 times 7 is equal to 21. So remember, this 3 is here, and then 20 take away 13 is equal to 7. There's an invisible times sign there, so we have a times sign here as well. So 3 times 7 is equal to 21, so therefore we were correct when we said x was equal to 4. Question 9. 2 is a factor of 12, so we can divide both sides by 2. So remember, 2 times something is equal to 12. So we can divide by 2 first on both sides. So divide by 2, divide by 2. So on the right hand side, 12 divided by 2 is 6. And on the left hand side, the times 2 and the divide 2 cancels out, leaving me with just 4x plus 7. Now in order to get the x on its own, we need to get rid of this plus 7. So to do that, we take away 7 on the left hand side, take away 7 on the right hand side. So on the right hand side, 6 take away the 7 is equal to negative 1 or minus 1. And on the left hand side, the plus 7 and the negative 7 cancels out, leaving me with just 4x. Now to get the x by itself, to divide both sides by 4. So x is equal to minus 1 over 4. So x is equal to minus 0.25. How do I know it was minus 0.25? Well, I know that 1 over 4 is equal to 0.5, and since there's a negative, it must be negative 1 over 4 must be equal to negative 0.25. Sorry, mistake here. 1 over 4 we know is 0.25, so negative 1 over 4 must be negative 0.25. So to just go over that, we know, how did I know that the answer is minus 0.25? Well, we know that 1 over 4 is equal to 0.25, because to divide a number by 4 to half it and half it again. So if I did half of 1, I'll get 0.5. If you half it again, it becomes 0.25. So that's 1 over 4 is equal to 0.25. Since there was a negative there, so negative 1 over 4 is equal to negative 0.25. But now we have to check our answer by doing substitution. So by substitution, we'll start off by writing the question first. Is 2 times 4x plus 7, which means 2 lots of 4x plus 7 is equal to 12. So we think that x is minus 0.25. So 2 times 4 times negative 0.25 plus 7 is equal to 12. So first of all, we need to find out what this is equal to. 4 times negative 0.25. Well, 4 times 0.25, well, 4 times a quarter would just be 1. But because it's negative 0.25, it's going to be negative 1. So 2 times negative 1 add 7 is equal to 12. So minus 1 add 7 is equal to 6. So we can say 2 times Negative 1 add 7 is 6, which is equal to 12. So as you can see, if this is correct, then that means this is also correct. So the answer is x is equal to minus 0.25, and I've checked it by doing this substitution. Finally, question 10. Okay, so this time 2 is not a factor of 11, so we can't really immediately just divide by 2. Although if we did want to, we could actually do that. Okay, and I will discuss that in a second. But first, go through the easy option. Because 2 is not a factor of 11, we'll just expand both the left hand side. So using the grid method, I have 2x minus 5, which will be multiplied by 2. So 2 times 2x is 4x, and then 2 times negative 5 is equal to negative 10. So the left hand side expands to 4x minus 10 is equal to 11. So now, because we want to get the x by itself, we have to get rid of the minus 10. So to do that, we have to add 10 to both sides. So 11 add 10 is 21. So the minus 10 and the plus 10 cancels out, leaving with just 4x. So to get the x on its own, we have to divide both sides by 4. So divide by 4 here, divide by 4 here. X is equal to 21 over 4. Now we left it as a improper fraction. So to get it into a mixed number, we ask ourselves, how many times does the 4 go to 21? Well, 4 times 5 is 20, remainder 1. So it's 5 1/4, which is 5.25. And we should always check our answers. So it's, if you look at the question, it's 2 times, or if you open bracket, it means 2 times. 2 times, instead of x, I want to write 5.25. Take away 5 should equal to 11. So let's focus on this bit. What's double of 5.25? Well, double of 5 is 10, and double of 0.25 would be 0.5. So it's 11.5. So it's 2 times, we just discussed that 2 times 5.25. So 5 add 5 is 10, and 0.25 add 0.25 is 0.5. So it's just 10.5. Take away the 5, which we'll do here, write it down here, is equal to 11. Now what's 10.5 take away 5 is 5.5. So this bit here is equal to 5.5. Don't forget the secret time sign here. So it's 2 times 5.5 is equal to 11. So we were correct. So the answer is x is equal to 5.25. If we wanted to, we could have actually divided both sides by 2. So if we divide both sides by 2, on the left hand side, the times 2 and the divider cancels out, leaving us with 2x minus 5. On the right hand side, we've got 11 over 2. Now remember, 11 over 2 can be written as a mixed number. So I copy the 2 down. How many times does 2 go into 11? 5 times. And the remainder is 1. So the answer will be 5.5. So in fact, I could write this line as 2x minus 5 is equal to, I could write it as 5.5 or 5.5. So in this case, because numbers are quite easy, I will leave it as a decimal as 5.5. Now it's minus 5 here, and to get rid of, so I can add 5 to both sides. So to get rid of this minus 5, remember the end objective is to get the x on its own, this x. So I need to get rid of this minus 5 first. So I can add 5 to both sides. So if I add 5 to the right hand side, 5.5 add 5 is just going to be 10.5. And on the left hand side, if I also add a 5, the minus 5 and the plus 5 cancels out, leaving me with just 2x. So x is 10.5 divided by 2. So half of 10 is 5, or if you just did grid method, it would also work out. So we'll do half 10.5. Well, half of 10 is 5 and half of 0.5 is 0.25. So if you add it together, you get x is equal to 5.25. So the other thing we could have done was at this stage here, not to use it as a write it as a decimal. Sorry, this stage here, not to write it as a decimal. So 2x minus 5 is equal to 11 over 2. This is what we got from this section. Okay. Remember, we got this divide 2 because we want to cancel that 2 out. So I'm going to leave it as improper fraction. Now, because I want the x on its own, so what I've done is I've just copied this line here. If you don't understand how we got this line, rewind it to find out what this line is. So, because I want the x by itself, I have to get rid of the minus 5 on both sides. I do that by adding 5 to both sides. So 2x is equal to 11 over 2 plus 5. Now remember, writing 5 and writing 5 over 1 is the same thing. So our denominators here are the same, so we can't just add them. So that means 2 times the top and bottom of this by 2. That will give us 2x is equal to 11 over 2. I just copy it as it is. What's 5 times 2? It's 10, and 1 times 2 is 2. So now I can add the numerators. So 2x is equal to scroll up a bit. Let me just write it again. 2x is equal to, now I can add the numerators. 11 add 10 is 21 over 2. Now, because I want to get the x on its own now, I have to get rid of the times 2, so I have to divide both sides by 2. So divide that by 2. So I will have, on the left hand side, I'll have x, because the times and divided cancels out. On the right hand side, I have 21 over 2 divided by 2. Now remember, this divided by 2 can be written as just 2 over 1. Now this goes into dividing fractions and multiplying fractions, which there's another playlist for it. So x is equal to, now remember, whenever we divide a fraction, we have to do KFC. So keep, flip, and change. So we keep the first fraction, that's what the K stands for, keep the first fraction, and then the flip means the second fraction turning upside down. So instead of 2 over 1, I'm going to flip it upside down, and then change the sign from divide to times. Now we can just multiply across, so x is equal to 21 times 1 is 21, and 2 times 2 is 4. So x is equal to 21 over 4. Now how many times does 4 go into 21? 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Remainder is 1. So x is equal to 5 1/4, or 5.25. If you didn't understand any of that, you might have to go over it a bit more slowly. If you don't understand expanding, you have to watch a different playlist for expanding. If you don't know how to divide or multiply a fraction, you're going to have to watch a separate playlist for that. and this will be the next lot of questions. So I would like you to do this as the next lot of questions.